Kia ora everyone, welcome to our educational video on YouTube. This one I wanted to talk about the main problem that everyone falls into, consistency. In this video I'm going to show you exactly what you should do when you're trying to figure out how to stay consistent, how to try and find a structure that works specifically for your lifestyle, and how to fit everything in and it doesn't feel so overwhelming. Okay, we want to try and get it to the point where you're pushing towards your goals in health in a sustainable way. A couple of main problems that we see is when somebody takes on an extreme structure or extreme plan, they do lose a little bit of weight, and then you revisit them 6 months later and they put it all back on because they did it in an unsustainable way. So what we're trying to do in this video is highlight how you can make it sustainable, how you can make it achievable and realistic for your life. So let's get into it. All right, so everyone knows a fair idea on what to do, okay? But it's all about knowing how to execute on those things. And there's so many different components that come into play, you know, habits, it might be just trying to manage your time. So we need to make sure that number one, planning ahead, okay? So if you haven't planned for the week ahead, you've already lost the week. So what does that look like? Now, before you take on any type of structure, you need to see how much time you can actually allocate towards this structure or this new you. Essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to become this new version of ourselves. And so what we need to do is start to do new things, okay? And we need to map out all the things that we currently do and see if any of those things are not serving us anymore. What things can we take out so that we can put the new healthy habits and healthy actions in? So there's an exercise that I usually like to tell people, and it's about planning the week. What you want to do is you want to have a look at the next week's hours, okay? And you can break it down like this. So obviously 7 days in a week, 24 hours in a day. How many of those hours are allocated towards certain things? So I've just got an example here. I've got number one, sleep. The next one is probably something like work. Another one could be things like getting ready, running errands. Like that would probably be one section. The next one might be something like cooking, eating. Another section could be like, you know, family time with the kids or, you know, socials. And then there could be another thing like personal downtime. So for example, sleep 8 hours a night, that would be 56 hours of the week. Work, maybe you do 8 hours of work a day, that would be 40 hours for the week. Getting ready, commuting and errands, maybe that's 10 hours of the week. Cooking and eating, maybe that's 7 hours total of the week. Kids, family time, responsibilities, maybe that's, you know, something between 20 to 25 hours throughout the week. And then we'll have a look at something like personal time, maybe it's like 10 hours throughout the week. Now everyone's hours will be different and it depends on your lifestyle. Yet again, this is why one meal plan or one structure does not fit all, okay? It really depends on what you're doing in your life and where you can allocate that time. Now ideally all you need is roughly about 30 minutes to an hour per day. So that's 7 hours. We're trying to find 7 hours to implement into this structure. So with the example that I had just said, that still allocates 25 hours. That's time that could be spent towards something productive. At the moment, a person like this would have those 25 hours and they actually wouldn't know what to do. So they end up doing something lazy or something unproductive. Maybe they're scrolling on their phone, maybe they're watching movies. So what we're trying to do is grab that time and put it into something productive. So lay out what your week looks like, allocate all of the hours, all of the time. If you don't have any time left after allocating everything, then figure out which part you need to sacrifice to bring the new actions in. Cool. All right, the next thing that you want to do, movement. We need to make sure that we're moving the body, okay? Obviously you can lose weight just relying on nutrition, but that depends on the movement that you're doing throughout the day, okay? If you're not training, but let's say that you have a physical job, then of course you can still lose weight when you dial in on your nutrition. But in saying that, if you are maybe like a homebody or you don't really move the body as much, then you want to try and make sure that you're at least getting out of the house, getting a couple of steps in, moving the body so that you're burning more calories, so that you have more calories to play with when being in a calorie deficit. You want to try and eat the most amount of food in a calorie deficit while staying in a calorie deficit, if that makes sense. And by most amount of food, I mean, I always use this example, one bowl of strawberries is 100 calories. And then maybe like 3 squares of chocolate, that's 100 calories as well. So you want to eat more food, more volume. So you would choose the strawberry, okay? More volume of food or the same amount of calories is the better choice when it comes to fat loss. And when you can eat more food, and you can only eat more food when your movement is high. So that's why movement is the first thing that you need to allocate in towards that time. Find a step target, ideally anywhere between 8,000 steps or more is where you want to be. So with that time, try and allocate set amount that you should do every day. Go for a walk, you know, come back and then get the day started. And if it's going to be something like 8,000 steps, if you want to put in a run to get the time done quicker, that's what I usually do. And by all means, it's just about moving the body and getting the body used to exercising. So the next thing that you want to try and look at is, so we need to make sure that we're looking up our maintenance calories. From there, you need to choose foods that you actually enjoy. It's no point in giving you like a meal plan and yeah, the macros might look good, but if the food itself doesn't look good, you're not gonna stick to it, okay? So what you wanna do is find meals you enjoy, something that you can stick to, and try and find like a base set of meals. So for example, try and find maybe 1 or 2 breakfasts that you really like, that you know is high in protein, calories are good, volume is good, and then you wanna do the same for lunch and you wanna do the same for dinner. And then from Monday to Friday, you can actually just float and alternate between those 6 meals. Obviously, you know, 3 meals each day, but you've got that variety there because you've taken the time to find out what meals you actually enjoy. So that's gonna be your structure from at least Monday to Friday. And then on the weekend, try and stick to the same structure from just to around lunchtime. And then you can have free range around dinner, okay? Now, in terms of snacks, that will be in between, obviously, your breakfast and your lunch, as well as your lunch and your dinner. And maybe if you have enough calories left, you can have something like a dessert. You can have one snack that's protein-based, maybe one snack that's enjoyable, and then one snack that's dedicated towards fruits, etc. With that structure, you know, that should be enough to make sure that you can come up with a plan that's sustainable and achievable for you, and it's realistic with everything that you have balanced on your plate. All that you need to do now is come up with that structure on your own and make sure that you've planned things in a realistic way so that you can stay consistent, okay? It always comes down to time management. When people say, oh my gosh, like I've got so much going on, I can't get it in, it's actually a lack of organization. We actually haven't laid out every single thing that we do, every single hour of what we spend our time on. When we actually have a look at it on paper, it just makes it so much clearer, and you realize, oh, well, I actually can fit it in. I'm just wasting my time doing this instead. It's really simple. Sometimes we just need to write it all out, and then from there, we can come up with that, you know, realistic plan that's achievable and that will allow us to stay consistent. Cool. That's everything for this video, guys. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you are interested in our one-to-one coaching, we can come up with a plan for you so that you don't have to think about it. So if you do want to get results and you want to save yourself the time of thinking about what to do, then book a call. The link is down below and we can have a conversation then. But if not, comment down below on any topics that you want to see or hear about on this channel and I'll get onto it in the next one. Thanks, guys.